has changed. So I think absolutely there have always been practices on Wall Street that are not great and that are dubious. But what I would say, the simplest way to mark what has changed is look how banks make their money. So when I joined the firm in 2000, or let's just say when I joined Wall Street, at least half the money was being made in the original things that made finance get called finance. Wall Street financed things. They helped companies raise money. They advised companies on merging. They acted as an advisor in all sorts of capacities. So when I joined, about 60% of Goldman Sachs' revenue was in the banking side of the business, where certainly there are always going to be conflicts, but there are less conflicts than in the trading side of the business. So fast forward to 2007, close to 80% of the money is being made in the trading business, which is a very marked change, which I don't think people can debate as being non-factual. But what that kind of revenue change does is it leads to behavioral changes and cultural changes. So what occurred that allowed this revenue shift to change? Three main things occurred right around the time when I was joining Wall Street. The first thing, in 1999, there was a thing called the Glass-Steagall Act, which separated commercial banks from investment banks. It was repealed. In 2000, there was a thing called the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, which essentially took complex securities called derivatives and deregulated them. So allowed the trading of derivatives to move off exchanges basically into the dark. And the third thing that happened was a thing called the net capital rule was overturned. And what that did is it allowed banks to increase their leverage from, now leverage, for those who don't know, is basically if you have $1, you can effectively lever yourself up by taking bets 10 or 20 or 30 times the amount with the $1 you have by borrowing extra money. So from the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, banks took their leverage from 5, 6, 7 to 1 up to 35 to 1. So with these three things, which were all regulatory in nature and which were all ultimately lobbied for by the banking industry, it became very clear that, as the professor said, the old model of long-term greedy, which long-term greedy was a motto that Goldman Sachs had for many years, which essentially said, if we do right by clients over the long term, and maybe we turn away business in the short term that's going to affect our reputation, ultimately they'll keep coming back to us and we'll have a collaborative relationship where the client is a partner and they keep paying us and they keep doing business with us because they trust us. This shifted to a model that I would call short-term greedy, which ultimately makes more profits for individuals and for the firm in the very short term, but from a long-run standpoint, doesn't serve your business well and doesn't serve the society well, because potentially you're doing business that's toxic to your clients and ultimately endangers the system, as we saw in 2008, where Lehman, Merrill Lynch, AIG had taken such huge risk that it ultimately brought the whole system down, and the government had to come in and bail the system out. So when we talk about all these regulations occurring, what basically happens is it becomes clear that it's more advantageous for the bank to start betting with their own money, because if you can take levered bets of 30 to 1, you may actually start seeing your client more as an information provider to help you bet more smartly, as opposed to seeing your client as a partner that you help make returns and earn money. And essentially, in the early to mid part of my career, I saw